welcome to Illinois Corn TV. My name is Haley Bickelhoff, and I'm the Policy Communications Manager at Illinois Corn. On this show, we bring you informative ag interviews positioning Illinois farmers to grow. We've broken this show up into two parts, as usual, so let's get started with the part one, our featured interview with Karen Stallman. Karen spearheads the Farm Family Resource Initiative for the Center for Rural Health and Social Service Development. This week, we talked about farm rescue and helping families in need. So let's jump into the interview. Thank you, Karen, for joining us today. We're glad to see your smiling face here on the screen with us. Now, can you tell us about specific challenges that the Illinois farm families face that the initiative aims to address?
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity and an opportunity to share some time talking about our Farm Family Resource Initiative. So let's talk first, Haley, a little bit about what we do know. What do we know about farmers and what they're facing in our state of Illinois? So we know that farming ranks in the top 10 most stressful jobs in the United States. And we also know that farmers are the most likely to die by suicide compared to other occupations. So that in itself is a little bit alarming and something that we're certainly trying to address. The American Farm Bureau Federation did a study back in 2022, and that study showed that 75% of rural adults and 66% of farmers and farm workers say that it's important to reduce the stigma about mental health in the ag community. So we're trying to address stressors, but we're also trying to address some of that stigma that exists around mental health. Let's talk about what is farm stress to start. Farm stress is really the stress that's experienced by farmers and their families as a result of the very unique agricultural work environment. So as I sit here today with my interview, I'm on the family farm. My husband and I farm in Randolph County, which is in southern Illinois. And I grew up on the farm that we live on. My husband farms a farm that's been in his family since the late 1850s. And as I think back on the stressors that my dad experienced when I was growing up, and I think about the stressors that my husband and I have now, some of them are really similar. Some are not much different. The main stressors we experience, just like all other farmers, are, of course, I have to put it almost to the top, and that's the weather. So the weather just becomes more and more, it seems like difficult to predict, but it sure becomes more difficult as we think about farming and growing crops. We had a very warm February. Our wheat here is growing. We're concerned about what happens if we get a blast of cold weather later on in March or early April. And we experienced periods of drought, periods of rainy weather. The weather is just so unpredictable, and that's, of course, a variable that we can't control. Prices are up and down, not too good as we speak. And that, of course, is a challenge that we can't control. Our input costs are high. Farmers have personal stressors. A lot of us have children, spouses. Some of us are dealing with health problems ourselves, maybe people within our families, cash flow, increasing debt levels. We put in lots of long hours, long days. And then, of course, another issue that's always in the back of our minds is farm succession. You know, who's going to take over the farm when we decide that we're too old to farm? Or if the farmer passes away, who carries on the farm? These are all variables that we can't control. We have new variables. It seems like every year we might have a new insect problem. We might have a new disease problem. My husband and I face an increasing challenge each year with deer damage. And not every farmer has that, but some of them down here do. This year in some of our fields, we had almost 30% crop loss just because of a huge number of deer. Our initiative is really trying to help farmers work through those stressors so they don't become problematic, that they start to affect our health.
Very good. I know that, yeah, you hit the nail on the head with a lot of those difficulties. My grandpa always says the only gambling he's ever done is farming, and I think a lot of farmers can resonate with that. Can you tell us about the hotline that the center has and what support it offers?
We have a 24/7 confidential helpline. It's called our Farm Family Resource Initiative Helpline. So we would encourage anybody that's related to agriculture. I might be a farmer. I might be married to a farmer. I might be a child of a farmer. I might be a hired hand. I might be the guy that's the ag lender that wants to call and talk about maybe a farm family that I'm working with. So the helpline is accessible three ways. It's a free number, toll-free number that a person can call. They can also text. They can also email. So if I call the helpline, I'm reaching the call center in Springfield, Illinois. It's a call center that also answers calls for what was a suicide lifeline or 988. And so the other person on the end of the line is going to be a mental health professional. And that mental health professional is going to talk to me about whatever I need to talk about and for as long as I need to talk. And there's two things that I want to remind people, Haley. First of all, there's no charge. If I am planting on a Saturday night and at 10:30 at night, I think, I need somebody to talk to. I can call the helpline. People think I'm not going to call that helpline. I don't want anybody to know that I'm struggling. That'll just create problems, whatever the reason I might come up with. The helpline is completely confidential. If I'm even asked, would you like to give your name? I can say no. I don't have to say who I am. I don't have to say where I am. I can talk to a mental health professional about whatever I want to talk about, whatever I'm struggling with. And maybe I'm not at a crisis level. You don't need to be. It can just be somebody to talk to with a different perspective. So the mental health professional that you talk with is also going to offer you the opportunity to take advantage of some telehealth counseling sessions. Something that you don't have to do, but you're offered. Through our funding, we're able to offer up to 6 at no cost telehealth counseling sessions. And these could be counseling sessions for you, individual counseling. It could be for you and your partner, you and your spouse. It could be a group counseling. It could be for your whole family. If you feel like, me and my husband and my children would really benefit from talking to someone. And so if you're interested in the telehealth counseling session, you don't have to go anywhere. You can access that counseling through your computer, through a mobile device, and you would be able to take advantage of those counseling sessions at no charge.
That's a great resource to have, and I really liked your point that it can just be someone to talk to, that you don't have to be, maybe hitting rock bottom yet, but it's a great resource to have if you are struggling, and so I think that is such a great message. And so in addition to this helpline, what other resources does the initiative have?
So our helpline is 1-833-FARM-SOS, or that's 1-833-327-6767. And that's also the text. And then our email is FarmFamilyResourceHelpline at mhsil.com. But that's a lot of information. So I'm going to share with you that that's all available along with our other resources at our Farm Family Resource Initiative website. So we have a website, siumed.org/farm. If you don't have something to write that down with, or you didn't catch that, you can just Google Farm Family Resource Initiative. So our website is filled with lots and lots of resources. We've got a tab that says resources. We kind of consider that our electronic resource guide. We have podcasts. We do a podcast each month. We have blogs. We have videos. We have training sessions. So the website is just a wealth of information, lots and lots of resources for farmers and farm families. And we have those broken down by resources for veterans, resources for women, resources, just a variety of things. So make sure and check out our website. And then we do things throughout the year. We have a suicide bereavement support group. We have just a general grief support group that both of those meet monthly. And we have a School of Medicine counselor that meets with those groups. Anybody that has been impacted by suicide, anybody that is struggling with uh, adapting to the loss of someone, going through grief, that would be a great resource. Along with Farm Credit Illinois, we also offer a nurse scholarship program. It's called the Nurse Scholar. We've had nurse practitioners participate. It's an online, on-demand continuing education program for nurses in rural areas. And we talk, that's taught through what's called the AgriSafe Network. And nurses, healthcare professionals are taught different topics related to healthcare in the rural areas. Nurses are able to get continuing nursing education credits with that Nurse Scholar program. There's a fee up front that they pay, but thanks to Farm Credit Illinois, once they complete their certification, then they get their tuition reimbursed.
Wow, that's a lot of great resources. I would have had no idea that you had all of those different aspects of the initiative. Do you have any great stories or positive feedback that you can share from this network?
You know, Haley, because of our restrictions with the SIU medicine system, of course, with HIPAA regulations, I'm not given any names or addresses, phone numbers, anything of anyone calling the helpline or accessing our telehealth counseling sessions. However, we do get feedback from people that say, wow, I am so glad that somebody is talking about this, or hey, I am so glad that you are here. I'm so glad to be able to pick up these resources, pick up these fact sheets, whatever it is, maybe a stress tractor to take home with them.
Oh, that's, I'm sure, great feedback to hear. And I know often big projects like what you're doing take a village. So, are there any other partners or people that are also involved in this network?
We have an advisory council that meets every month. We rely on them to provide us guidance and feedback, but also to help disseminate information. And just like this, giving us the opportunity to share our information through the different commodity groups. So we're very grateful for that and grateful for all of our partners. We couldn't be doing this alone. There would be no way. It's too big of a task.
Well, it is a big task, but I think you are doing it really well. Or at least it sounds like from my perspective. As we look ahead, what are some of the long-term goals that the initiative has?
You know, we'd like to continue building on what we are, increasing awareness. Like I said, trying to reduce that stigma, trying to build our program, offer new opportunities. We're always looking at what other states are doing. I'll give you an example of that. The Minnesota Department of Agriculture a year ago uh, coordinated and cooperated with their FFA Foundation to offer FFA chapters mini grants. Well, thanks to our funding and the Illinois Department of Agriculture, we were able to do that this year. So we have some FFA chapters out in the state who were able to apply for and access mini grants. And so we have those FFA members this spring during their school spring semester out helping us spread the word, increase awareness with all kinds of activities that they're doing within their local schools and their local communities.
Wow, we'll have to check into that here at Illinois Corn and see what other FFA chapters around us are doing that. That's really great. In your opinion, why is it so critical that we do have these resources available for our Illinois family farmers?
It is such an important topic for us to help keep farm families healthy, both physically and mentally. It is a challenge, but those farmers deserve our attention and they deserve our help. And I think that's why it personally is so a passion of mine, I guess I would say, but it's also a passion of all of these people that are cooperating with us to help make our program successful.
Yes, that's so true. I come from a long line of farmers on both sides of the family and cannot attest more to the important work that you guys are doing. As we close today, what would you tell to someone who might not prioritize mental health or think it's very important?
Well, I often say the farmer is the most important asset on the farm. Without the farmer, it's going to be very difficult for the farm to operate. And we need to remind ourselves that our brain is an organ in our body, just like our heart. If we have a mental illness, are the neighbors whispering, or are they saying, well, that farmer, he's weak. He's not holding up his end. He's not doing what he needs to be doing. No, we need to be looking out for ourselves, and we need to be doing whatever we can to keep that brain just the sharp tool that we need it to be. I would add to that to also please be a good neighbor. Look out for each other. Check in on how the neighbor's doing. If we see somebody that we think maybe is struggling, if things seem a little bit off, things maybe don't seem quite right, make sure and check.
Definitely. I think that's such a timely message as we go into the spring, especially. And I wanted to be able to reiterate once again, what was that number that people can call if they would like to reach out?
So our farm helpline number is 1-833-FARM-SOS, and that's 1-833-327-6767. And our website is siumed.org/farm. If that's a mouthful, just Google Farm Family Resource Initiative, and that will come up.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Karen, for all of your insightful knowledge today. We're really glad to be able to talk to you about such an important topic and one that is just so critical to our industry. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Now, let's move on to part 2, not to be corny. Why should you never tell a secret in a cornfield? Because they have too many ears.
Well, that's a good one, Haley. I'd have to agree. Lots of ears out there.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Illinois Corn TV, where we deliver insightful ag interviews positioning farmers to grow. Stay tuned for more content every week, and be sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next week.